This is the first time that I've ever tried going live on Substack, so I'm very excited. And I have my really good news that I had put in my newsletter that I was going to share uh, is in part a link. And so I am putting it in the chat now. I should also probably explain what it is. And, I could have been prepared, but you get to see me, like, squint at my keyboard too high up. Free holiday anthology. That's what it is. Um, I wonder if I can pin that. Maybe not. It looks like I can't. Oh, well. So, yes, I know, of course, that it's my first time live, and who knows who will pop in and out tonight, but this is also gonna be recorded and available on YouTube and on Substack, I suppose, um, for perpetuity. Woohoo! So, therefore, let me explain properly that, it is December 4th. It is the 4th day, surprisingly enough, of 12 Days of Cozies, which is a wonderful cozy mystery, Christmas holiday event run by the Cozy Mystery Book Club. And in honor of that, and honestly, because it's been on my to-do list forever, I decided to release an anthology of all of the holiday stories that I have put out over the years, because there are quite a few. It's so funny. I think of myself as a novel writer, um, write books, like length. The stuff that we talk about on the podcast, Cozy Alchemy, that tends to be full length novels. I know, like my Alchemical Tales series, mystery, fantasy, full length novels. Um, but through the years, for one reason and another, for anthologies, just for fun, I've written quite a few short stories with my characters. Uh, Again, usually around holidays. It's amazing how many of them are themed. I really like a theme. That is what I have found going back through my archives. Um, so honestly, literally this morning, I sat down and finally put together a cover, which I will show you here. And I feel so goofy showing you something on my phone when you're on a computer, but there it is. And I know the color is washing out a little bit, but also when you go to the book funnel link, you'll see it even nicer. If I was really fancy, maybe I could put up a picture, but I don't think Substack does that. So, maybe in YouTube and so on, maybe I will be a little bit smarter. But anyway, that is the wonderful news of being here. That is the fun. Somebody's honking outside, scared me. Um, and yeah, so like I said, I pulled together these stories that I've written in the past 3 years, honestly. Like I said, this has been a project on my to-do list for a while. Um, put it together with that very cute cover, which you may or may not have been able to see on my phone. And um, threw it up on BookFunnel. I mean, there's a little bit of formatting and stuff involved, but yeah, let's skim over that part. It is now on BookFunnel, and you can go download it for free because, it's the holidays, and that's what we do, right? Is we have giveaways, of course, but we also just give things to each other. So, uh, you can tell I'm a little bit like, whew. I I have learned in the past couple weeks that the writing part is of being an author, um, is wonderful and fulfilling, and honestly, like, helps me process things and helps me lower my anxiety. The editing, formatting, publishing part of being an author raises it. And I mean, that's obvious, right? That's something that is intuitive because when you're editing, formatting, publishing, you're thinking about people reading the book on the other end. So uh, I'm not necessarily saying anything groundbreaking in saying that, but uh, I think for me, it's not just a matter of internal or external focus. It's also a matter of like all the nitpicky details that you have to think of when you are formatting, especially, a lot of programs take care of it for you, but you still want to go through and check and be like, okay, are all the headings the same? Is are all the scene breaks the same? Blah, 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 blah. All this stuff. Uh, that is the sort of thing I find it very worthwhile, clearly. Um, but it leaves my brain being a little bit like, "Ooh." So, because of that, and because this is my first live and who knows, how it'll go, how much interaction we'll have this time around, I figured that, I would spend the rest of the time not rambling, but instead, reading a holiday short story from the anthology. So, hence the title, right? Read with me. Um, Folks familiar with my YouTube will know that I have a playlist over there called Read to Me. And I started out reading one of the short stories from the Carousel Capers, which is also a free anthology for my newsletter subscribers. And I guess technically that one is distributed. You could read along while I read that, but this one specifically, it's brand new, newly distributed. You've got the link right there. You can totally read along with me if you like. And I will just keep an eye on things. If anyone pops in, if there's any questions, of course, I will take a break and answer those. But barring that, again, I know it's I feel like such I feel like perhaps I'm showing my age, being like, look at my phone on your computer. But I'm really proud of that cover. It was great fun. And all of the little things on there, so I'm not going to pull it up again. But all of the things on the mantle are callbacks to the stories that are included. So let's get to stories, right? The anthology is called A Year of Holidays. Brain details. And so there are actually 13 short stories in it. A year, obviously 12 months was what I was aiming for. A holiday each month, like I fudged it a little bit. But I added in an extra bonus Yule story because why not? Now, the stories in the anthology are largely written from the perspective of Red, right? Red is my amateur sleuth. She is the main character and the narrator in the Alchemical Tales and the Carousel Capers. But then we do have in the anthology a couple of short stories from her friends. So basically, I started out as an author with 5 years ago, writing the Alchemical Tales, so writing from Red's perspective. But I was having so much fun in this fairy tale, mystery, but fantasy world that several spin-offs have grown from there. So you'll notice in the holiday anthology, there is also a short story written by Sakura, who runs the Pomegranate Cafe and is the kind of instigator matchmaker in the cozy romance series, Pomegranate Cafe Romance, appropriately enough. And then We also have a spin-off series written from the perspective of the reporter in Belleville, who is a little more, like, hard-nosed, like, considers herself noir even though she's in a cozy world. Um, Leo. She has 2 stories in the anthology, and then the spare bonus Yule story at the end of the anthology is written about Sunlit and her friends. And Sunlit is the protagonist in the Marine Magic series. That series starts with How to Care for Cursed Fish, and that just my inner critic was very loud right there, and I just, like, lost my train of thought. Um, she's that series is still a spinoff, I would say, from the Alchemical Tales. It's a little bit more loosely connected. It's actually in a different town beyond in the world. But it's on the seaside, and it's great fun, and she has, uh, dancing penguins on her hands in that story, and it's very funny. All of that said, I know I said I wouldn't be rambling too much more, but now, that's all the background I think that you need on the anthology, and of course, I'll leave that comment there. Um, I am now going to read, um, the 12th story in the anthology. They Came Upon a Midnight Clear, and it's been around for a little while. It was on my website for free for a little while, so longtime readers will probably be familiar. It was one of, not the first stories, but one of the first holiday stories that I wrote with Red and her friends. And in fact, it is Red's first Yule in Belleville, which I believe that she is probably going to tell us. But one last behind the scenes note. Much like I did with the Carousel Capers Read to Me segment on YouTube, I actually did not read this ahead of time, this story. I mean, obviously I wrote it, but I haven't read it in quite a while. So, uh, that's why I'm like, I'm pretty sure she tells us that it's her first Yule, but we'll see. Okay. And I'm gonna be reading off of my phone like a true pro, because this anthology is so far in ebook, not in print version, although that might be coming. So I'm gonna just give me a minute to, like, position myself here. I think if I hold it here, I can also keep an eye on things going on. Okay. So here we go. For those watching later, I'm sure I'll tag this. Here is our official start of Read With Me, holiday version, reading They Came Upon a Midnight Clear from A Year of Holidays. The most difficult thing about making cookies to hand out as Yuletide presents, I've found, is not so much the making as it is the making sure we have enough to hand out. No, I repeated, this time not even looking in William's direction, as I simultaneously waved a whisk menacingly and checked a recipe for peppermint meringues. William, a magical black dog who had once been a sorcerer's familiar, backed away from the tray of cooling sugar cookies as I added, "You're not as sneaky as you think." Once he'd retreated to a safe distance from the kitchen, which in our tiny studio apartment meant the bay window overlooking Market Square, he mumbled, "I was just checking to see if they're done." "They're not. I still have to ice them," I retorted, turning my attention to the mountain of sprinkles, food coloring, and pastry bags I'd assembled on the dining room table earlier. From out in the square, the voices of Yule carolers and appreciative audiences chimed faintly. The glow of fairy lights warmed our frosted windows, reminding me that even though it felt there would never be any end to the snow in this alpine town, our little home of light and coziness would see us through. Don't mind me just geeking out about my own writing. Uh, I felt tempted to hum along with the folk tunes outside, but I knew that would only give William an excuse to make fun of me, and I didn't need any distractions. As usual, when it came to baking Yule cookies, I had fallen far behind schedule. Did I say making sure we have enough to hand out is the hardest part of Yule cookie baking? Maybe making sure we have the time to hand them out is what I should have said. At this rate, you might as well hand them out tomorrow, Red, William grumbled. Clearly, his thoughts ran parallel to mine. I don't want to do that. Tomorrow is for presents from family and Yuletide legends. And plus, Luca invited us to that party at the inn, so we won't have time. I'm almost done. I just have to do the decorations for these while the meringues finish baking and dust sugar on the snowball cookies once they're cool. And then plate everything according to who it's going to. And maybe write out notes so that they know what they're getting. It's already past sunset. At this point, you're better off making it a guessing game, William observed. I glanced his way as I mixed up a bowl of green-tinted frosting. Are you saying you're worried about being on the streets at midnight? I asked. Though I had only meant to tease him, William's reply sounded serious. He considered his role as information gatherer, aka town gossip, very important, since I was usually preoccupied with running the store below our apartment and making potions to sell. Everyone in Belleville swears it's true, Red, he said. Uh-huh. I focused on my cookie toppings again, arranging them on the table in individual bowls lined up in the order that I might use them. As an alchemist by trade, I couldn't help but bring a scientific approach to cooking. But the wonderful thing that set baking apart from all the potions and powders I sold in the shop was that all the ingredients were edible and delicious. And okay, yes, maybe because of all the time I spent making and selling alchemical concoctions, edible or otherwise, I'd missed out on some of the finer points of Yuletide traditions in Belleville. William and I had only moved in last spring, and I'd never spent winter in such a tiny pastoral town. My original plan had been to travel halfway across beyond, back home to the desert city oasis for the holidays. But my first holiday season running a brick-and-mortar store had gotten the better of me. It wasn't so bad. I'd made good friends in Belleville, and I was happy to celebrate with them. Even if my brand of celebrating, that is, delivering cookies, would put me in danger from some local superstition. In a world full of magic and fairy tales, what would a holiday be without some funny stories? That was all I thought of it. Clearly, my companion took the matter more seriously. It's not unheard of for a rural area like this to have its own mythical creatures, William continued, his voice full of admonition, with a slight hint of lecturing thrown in for good measure. As a sorcerer's familiar, he considered himself an expert on magical creatures, even if he didn't really work as a familiar anymore, opting instead to travel with me. And there's plenty of Yuletide spirits who are both festive and dangerous, he added. Take the Yule Cat, for example. It seems cute and fluffy, but in the original legends, it would actually eat people who didn't have new clothes for the holiday. Yule isn't just about presents and food. Uh-huh, I said again, as I wielded my piping bag. I tried to remember the scraps of legend I'd heard so far. So you really think that there's a creature out there that runs around town delivering presents, but also will steal our cookies and chase us out of Belleville if it catches us out at midnight? Probably not, William admitted. Most people say that anyone outside gets abducted on the spot, not chased. Ha! That'd be a stroke of luck for you if I got abducted, wouldn't it? Then you'd have all the leftover cookies to yourself. I grinned at him as I wiped long, dark hair out of my face and began slathering the nearest sugar cookie with frosting. Anyway, isn't abduction a little extreme? It's literally a crime, after all. Is this creature afraid of being seen? Compared to the other things that Yule spirits might do, it seems on track, said William. But those are all ancient legends, as you said. Times have changed. I focused on my cookies. Only one more dozen to go. William sneezed. At this point, I think you're looking for danger. That or you're psychologically incapable of taking anything seriously. I'm taking this very seriously, I protested, waving a spatula and inadvertently flicking frosting onto my nose. Maybe instead of sitting in the corner being a Yuletide downer, you could help if you're so worried. Start setting out the plates for everyone, won't you? I promise. This will be done before you know it, and we'll be on our way in no time. The Belleville ghost of Yule won't even know we're out. They're called the Yule Horde, William corrected. I thought it was just one creature, I asked. Who could say for sure, since everyone who's seen them has been abducted? Since he did hop down from his seat and come over to help, I held my tongue and refrained from bickering. William wasn't the one who had named the mysterious local legend, after all. He was only reporting what he'd heard. And around Yule time, when each friendly meeting overflowed with ancient sayings and songs and legends, I wasn't surprised he'd heard so much. With William assisting rather than hindering, we got the cookies done just as the carolers outside packed up. This was good, I assured him. There'd be no traffic on the streets, and all of our friends would be home. While William packed the plates into a hamper, refusing to be comforted by anything I had to say, I bundled up in my winter cloak and festive scarf. Last but not least came a pair of heavy boots, charmed to always be warm. The snow in Belleville had piled knee-deep in some places and continued to fall. Maybe the horde won't want to come out in this weather, I remarked to William as we locked up the apartment. By way of reply, William swept snow from a nearby drift at me with his tail. He turned and began trotting down the sidewalk, heading into the twilight streets away from the square. Wait a minute, I called out softly. Something about the snow created a hush that I didn't want to disturb. I'm going to drop off Gloria's cookies first. Our next-door neighbor, Gloria, ran a hair and beauty salon. She'd been incredibly busy in the past few days, as everyone wanted to look their best for the multi-day Yule feasts and celebrations. I knew she wouldn't be in her shop, and I doubted she'd come down from her second-floor apartment to accept a gift. No matter what time of year, Gloria could be classified as a bona fide Grinch. Rather than face her ire, I'd already decided to leave her plate of extra spicy gingerbread cookies in the covered mailbox next to her front door. The cold overnight wouldn't hurt the baked goods, and in the morning she'd be sure to find them. The only thing better than holiday cookies, in my opinion, was surprise holiday cookies. William waited on the corner under a street lamp as I raced over to the salon. What did you make for her? He asked. Coal? Ha ha, I retorted, each syllable hanging in front of my face in an icy cloud. I don't believe in handing out punishment for Yule, even for Grumps. Lucky for you. Too bad the horde doesn't agree, he said. I rolled my eyes as I shifted my burden of cookie plates and returned to his side. That's if the horde is really a thing. William snorted, but apparently felt that was all he needed to say. In silence, we walked along the dimly lit street. The town was blanketed in that particular quiet that comes when snow is falling and everyone is tucked inside, basking in the glow of the fireplace. With each breath, I could smell wood smoke and fresh frost. Hi! Welcome to... I'm pausing my reading. Sorry, I'm using this opportunity to record a reading for YouTube. My YouTube channel has like a read to me section. So I'm using this to read a Yule story that I wrote a while ago, and that's in the holiday anthology. That is in the comments there, that link. So yay! All right. We are midway through. Red and William are out delivering cookies, but they have heard that if they stay out till midnight, there is a mysterious Yuletide creature, possibly called the Horde. It's some sort of weird local legend that might, get them. Red has her doubts, but William is very insistent. So, with each breath, I could smell wood smoke and fresh frost. The trees in the square all bore Yule decorations, looking very fine in their popcorn and cranberry strands. I found it hard to picture any kind of horde crashing this particular holiday scene. In fact, it was hard to imagine any kind of crime occurring at all. But at our second stop, I knew we'd hear more about the legend, particularly if it was dangerous. We crossed to the far edge of town first. There, a squat 2-story building sat guarding the cottages and shops from the forest beyond. No lights came from the front windows, which served as the local police office, so we went around the back. Before we could knock, a large, broad-shouldered half-orc shadow loomed behind the curtains in the window on the door. Ho ho, hope you have a good excuse for being out so late. I had explained when I started, I'm reading this story, but I haven't read it since I wrote it, which was a little while ago. I had forgotten that I was getting myself in for puns. All right. Officer Thorne, Belleville's dedicated and often punny defender of the peace, grinned toothily at William and me. Her orcish heritage gave her mossy green skin and pointy ears and a very, very wide smile. Not to mention more muscles than the 3 of me put together. We do, I informed her. It's cookies. Here, this plate is yours. Happy Yule. I ought to lock you up for your own good, said the officer cheerfully. As I pulled a beribboned plate of croissant-shaped stuffed cookies out of my basket, William growled, I tried to tell her, but she wouldn't believe me. Of course she didn't. Our Red is one of those who can't believe in something no one's ever seen. Well, you'll know better for next year, if you make it, that is, Thorne said with a flippant hair toss as she accepted the cookies. Her beautiful black hair fell perfectly over her military-esque uniform, as always. Apparently, in Thorne's eyes, not even a holiday was an excuse for wearing casual clothes. Although I couldn't help but notice she wasn't out patrolling the streets to prevent crime. Thanks for the vote of confidence, I told her. Has anyone ever actually been abducted by this thing anyway? Things, Thorne corrected. And of course they have. Anyone who was out and saw the horde or tried to open their presents earlier would be taken. Okay, but who was taken and when? I asked. It was a long time ago, said the officer airily. No one's been lost on my watch, which is why I'm advising you to go straight home. She sniffed at the plate in her hands. Ooh, are these chocolate? Looks like it'll be breakfast all night at the station. Trent will love them too. Wait, Trent is with you? Trent, who served as the local witch, would have been our next stop. Every town in Pastoria has its own witch, and they invariably live in a hut on the outskirts of town. I don't know why these things are true. Most likely no one does, unless they are a witch. But they are true, nonetheless. Officer Thorne had already eaten half a cookie in one bite. Yep, she said. I figured as he's new to town and unfamiliar with the tradition, I'd better look out for him when the horde comes along. Oh, so you're worried about him, but not us? I pointed out, fishing through my basket for Trent's plate of black and purple jam-filled thumbprint cookies. You have William, Thorne reminded me. The magical dog in question snorted. Not that she listens. Well, I sure feel the glow of friends and good cheer, I chastised them both as I handed over the plate. Shortly after, William and I said our goodnights and plodded on to the next house. After the police station came an old ramshackle house where our friend, very reclusive friend, Ryuko lived. Mostly human, but with some scales and snake-like qualities resulting from a curse, Ryoko tended not to join in any sort of party, but I figured he still had to eat. When we delivered his plate of dark chocolate swirl cookies, we discovered that he too had a friend visiting, a gifted young seer named Claire we'd met over the summer. Though William groused at the delay, I paused to fish out an extra plate and throw on some cinnamon spice crinkles for her. Like me, Claire had grown up in the desert, and I hoped she'd appreciate the delicate flavors. It's less than an hour to midnight, William informed me as we made our way back to the darkened street. How he knew this was beyond me, unless he could tell time by the falling snowflakes. That's nearly an hour to make deliveries back on Market Square, I replied. We're making good time since we didn't have to walk to the hut. It's going to be fine. William's breath came in white huffs. You still think that after seeing how everyone else is holed up, inside with friends, you're going to be safe? Yule is all about friends, I said. But did you ever wonder why? Well, I don't think it's for protection from a mysterious, invisible horde that either brings gifts or breaks the law, I said tartly. But if you're scared, maybe you know of a shortcut we can take from here to the square. I don't actually come out to Ryuko's all that often. William heaved a great big sigh, like I'd just admitted to dooming us both. Follow me. He cut across the snowy street, leaving a trail of snow that crumpled beneath my boots as I trotted after him. Maybe, I thought, he really is worried. I started to feel guilty for having dragged him out. Just a little guilty. But that feeling wouldn't help us move faster. I kept a sharp lookout as we squeezed down a narrow alley and emerged onto a new road, my eyes peeled for familiar landmarks. In the frosty starlight, everything looked different. Is that the weird big barn thing on the road in from the south? I asked, pointing across the way, trying to get my bearings. And also trying to distract us from the un-Yule-like tension in the air. It's a school, Red, William said, shaking his fluffy ears. Some sort of secret spy school. Next time you take your life into your own hands, ask one of them to go with you, not me. How could I go anywhere without you? I asked in return, grinning. William ignored me in favor of hopping a picket fence and leading us to the back door of the local candle maker, Lumi. Since she was my next stop, I figured we could walk through her yard without incurring danger. A pale-skinned elf with a penchant for all things floral, Lumi had been one of my staple customers since I'd set up shop in Belleville. She and her partner loved the window pane cookies, maybe a little too effusively. By the time we finally left them, William's fur practically stood on end. It'll be fine, I repeated, my ears still ringing with Lumi's farewell chorus of fa-la-la-la-las. William made no reply. Good thing I recognized the road now and could navigate to our next stop, the local bookstore run by a goofy scholar named Luca. William and I huddled on the bookstore's porch, waiting for Luca's response to the doorbell. We huddled not only because of any supernatural concerns, but also because Luca had crammed every Yule decoration known to academia onto the front of his store. Each time the breeze picked up, 100 different evergreen boughs adorning the doorway, windows, and porch shivered, casting unnerving shadows. A stray ribbon had come loose from its spiral around a pillar and kept drifting across my shoulder, making me jerk away, with thoughts more appropriate for All Hallows' Eve than any other night. Where does this Yule horde even take people? I wondered, shifting from foot to foot. It makes no sense. It has to be a story they tell, just to keep kids from sneaking around at night and seeing their parents put out presents. Just then Luca's door opened, and I launched into my spiel. Hi, Luca. Happy Yule. Yes, we know we're not supposed to be out this late, but cookie making took a while this year, so here you are. Here's a plate of peanut butter sandwich cookies for you. Red was more practiced than I am. From underneath his scholar's hooded robe, Luca blinked at me. Even though he was my height, perhaps several inches shy of 6 feet, he usually hunched over like an old book or scroll. He hunched over an old book or scroll. So we weren't often face to face like this. His dark skin combined with the shadow to make his green eyes appear even brighter than usual. As he accepted the plate I held and looked down at the cookies, he beamed. "These are so cool, Red. They look like little books." "Now you see why baking took so long," I grinned back. "I wanted to go all out since this is our first Yule here, and from the looks of it, we're in a hurry," William reminded no one in particular. "From the looks of it," I repeated stubbornly, "you go all out for the holiday too." "Oh, you mean the decorations?" Luca put one hand to his mouth as though to hide an embarrassed smile while he looked around the crowded porch. "It's out of control, I know. Each year I add a little more, because you can never have too much festivity. But then I never want to get rid of any either. Honoring old traditions and all that. Some of this stuff I've had so long I've forgotten what it is." I'm laughing because I know what's coming. William sneezed. "Like the mistletoe hanging over your heads?" "What?" I glanced up at the greenery festooned ceiling. "Hmm?" Luca glanced down at William's beady gaze. "Never mind, we don't have time," William decided. I barely had time to wish Luca good night and promise to see him tomorrow before being swept away, pulled along by the hem of my cloak. William, towing me resolutely through the snowdrifts, made straight across the square for our last stop, Lavender's Inn. On the way, we passed by the Yule-bedecked trees once more, green firs and bare oaks alike. Evergreen scents laced the air, and as I breathed it in, I found it difficult to believe any horde of creatures could be heartless enough to ruin the peace of the night. However, Lavender and her guests happily dissuaded me of my notions of security and goodwill. We found a number of friends clustered around the bar at the inn, and after we'd passed out cookies to all of them, a chorus of warnings barraged us. "You're not aiming to celebrate Yule by getting abducted, are you?" the local handy gnome, Dusty, asked from a rickety stool. "Don't you research the local traditions before moving to a new place?" asked Lark, an elf in a wheelchair covered in twinkly holiday lights. Despite her impressive wheels, she and I never actually got along. I glared at her, not certain why she felt the need to turn a holiday into a chance for a put-down. "It really is rather dangerous," said Scar, one of Lark's troll assistants, a hulking rock-like presence. "Dear me, do you think they'll make it home?" said Scab, Scar's other half. The two looked like they were hewn from the same slab of granite. Dusty's light voice rang out again. "There'll be no Yuletide presents for you." Now, that's enough," Lavender called from the hearth. Her voice reverberated around the warmly lit room, and everyone obeyed. Local legend had it that Lavender had been running her inn since before there was a Belleville, and that the occasional feather in her hair or shimmer in her light eyes was proof of angelic heritage. "Let's let Red and William get moving, shall we? There's only minutes left to midnight," she said. I hesitated, glancing at William. "Do you just want to stay here? And leave the shop alone while strange things run around breaking into homes to leave presents?" "No way," William retorted. "We can make it if you run. Come on." "Okay, but you are no longer allowed to complain about me being the one who gets us caught," I replied. My words were useless, though. William had already left. I raced after him. Our shop sat right across the square. There shouldn't have been anything to worry about. In fact, as I veered around one of the larger trees, I could see my shop ahead. I'd left the kitchen light on, and it glowed across the fresh snow. William had disappeared into the shadow, so I focused on that light. It shone steadily, urging me on as I ran. And then suddenly, it didn't. Was that just me? I shook my head, nearly missing my footing. When I looked back up at the window, I saw nothing strange. By that point, I had nearly made it to the shop. I darted down the alley to the back door. Is it midnight already? Couldn't have been more than a minute. William had left the back door open. I vaulted inside and pulled it shut tight behind me. Looks like we made it, William, I panted, victorious. I straightened my cloak and set down my empty basket. Then realized that the shop was altogether too quiet. William? I heard nothing. Everything around me remained dark. But then, from upstairs, a slight bump echoed down. I took the stairs 2 at a time as I went up. The door, which had drifted shut, slammed against the wall as I pushed it open and thundered in, "William!" He stood stock still against the kitchen island, as if guarding the leftover cookies. But he couldn't possibly have been guarding them. They were all gone. I'd left plates and bags of cookies there, and now instead of that, 2 gift-wrapped boxes sat on the counter. What in the name of... A sudden movement drew my eyes. The light in the window flashed, just like I had seen from outside. But from the inside, I could see more clearly. It wasn't that the light had flickered. It was that something very dark and very fast had crossed in front of it. Some things. They raced across the room and out the kitchen window. "Wait," I cried. "Who are you and why are you in my house?" The last form paused, crouched above the kitchen sink. It turned its face to me, but I couldn't see any expression, just a pair of eyes surrounded by strips of dark cloth. Then with a wink, it disappeared out the open window and into the night. William shook himself. "Spy school," he muttered. Then he turned to me, a silly smile stretched across his furry face. "I bet you it's training. They come and leave presents and take stuff back home. It's not a hoard, H-O-R-D-E. It's a hoard, H-O-A-R-D. It's theft," I protested. "They took all my cookies." "Maybe we should have stopped by the school and given them some," William said, sounding more amused by the minute. "Besides, you were warned, Red. That doesn't make it not theft." My canine friend was not impressed. Technically, you could see it as a celebration of Yule, the longest night of the season, and a reminder that even as we lose some things, we'll gain new ones with the coming year, he said. Besides, when faced with darkness, we're supposed to band together with peace and goodwill. That's the whole point of all these parties and feasts. "I don't understand anything you just said to me." I blinked as I paced slowly through my kitchen. I found one last abandoned sugar cookie and, on autopilot, I took a bite. Coarse sugar crystals crunched between my teeth like tiny ice cubes as I thought. The barn we passed? A school, William said. Legends of an invisible creature. Not one, but a whole team working together to sweep the town and make deliveries. Almost like... "Yuletide spies," William said, now sounding quite smug. "Does that clear things up? They're the ones who stole your cookies. Are you planning to persecute?" "Honestly, I was just shocked," I said through crumbs. "You've been going on about abduction being a crime all evening," he reminded me. "And it is, but they only took my cookies. And they did kind of pay for them in a way." As one, William and I turned to consider the little packages on my bare kitchen counter. William's tail wagged. "I can't wait to see what it is. Think we can open it now?" I savored my cookie as I continued to process this, watching William sniff curiously at one of the 2 boxes, both covered in a shiny blue paper adorned with dancing penguins. At last I grinned. Well, even if there is a whole secret school of them, if their plan is to visit the entire town by morning, then they'll be pretty busy. I don't see how they'll know if we open them early. "Unless you give us away at the party tomorrow," William said, turning to me with a distrustful look in his eye. Worried about tattletales amid the guests? I finished my cookie with one last bite and a wide, teasing grin. Please. I just delivered all my cookies before midnight, avoided a fake kidnapping, and even snuck a gift to Gloria. I can be plenty sneaky, I said. And even if not, like you said, it's the season of peace and goodwill. I'm sure everything will turn out fine. That was so funny. Like I said at the beginning, obviously I remember the story, I remember writing it, but there's so many little details that I forget. Um, hmm, excuse me. And there's things that I think I added later when I was editing, so I just don't remember them as well. Good. I'm glad. Um, yeah, and the whole idea of Yuletide spies, I think it came because, um well, first of all, so I make cookies to give out at Christmas, and it's a tradition that I've had for a very long time, and one of the main things I always make is sugar cookies, like, even going back to high school, like, that was a really big hit with my friends. And they would always be like, "Oh, holidays, are you gonna make your sugar cookies? We need your sugar cookies." They'd tease me about it. So, because it was something that I was kind of known for, I ended up collecting a lot of, um, cookie cutters in various shapes. And obviously you have all the, like, reindeer and trees and stuff like that. Um, but the collection kept growing and getting weirder and weirder. And at one point I don't remember where they came from, but I got, there was a set of 4. They were like little ninja, like one of them's like kicking and one of them's like leaping, and I I don't know who needs these for their sugar cookies, but I had them. Uh, and they were just sitting, in my collection for a while before I wanted to write a Yuletide story. And I believe that is where that inspiration came from. So, yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm very glad that you had fun. And I'm glad to have tried this. Like I said at the beginning, this was something that I just decided to try in honor of the 12 Days of Cozies, which is being hosted by the Cozy Mystery Book Club, which is very cool and worth checking out. They're doing things. Obviously, this is the 4th they're going through until the 12th of December. They have all different authors, different live things on, like, Instagram, Facebook, all over. And so they're the ones who originally asked me to do a live here. And I was like, why not? Sure. And it makes a very good excuse to record a holiday short story that then will be on my YouTube. So yeah, I wasn't sure how this was going to work with it being my first time, but yeah, I'm very glad, like, everything seems to have gone smoothly. And yeah, but this maybe it's something I will try again. But for today, um for the purposes of the recording and everything in the future, I would like to again say, like, this holiday anthology is free. It's like I said, it's a collection of stories from years of writing the alchemical tales, and just, different themes and came to mind. So it's a little bit of a hodgepodge, but it's got a lot of festivity. And it is available at the book funnel link there. And I will also put it, apparently, and this is part of the learning process, apparently Substack will save this and make it a post that I can send out tomorrow. So I will have the link in the post as well, and in the YouTube post. There's so many details to keep track of. But yeah, okay. Once more, thank you so much for being here and for listening and reading along. And yeah, I guess I'm I'm gonna sign off and I'm gonna go. My brain is immediately going to my podcast sign off, which is I will talk to you next time.